Did somebody really figure out how to legally win with Battle of Wits in Commander? How is that even remotely possible when you have to have 200 or more cards in your library and you can only have 100 cards in Commander? Well, this all comes from somebody bringing this Twitter post by Saffron Olive to my attention. And basically the idea revolves around exiling things and restarting the game with Karn Liberated. And every time we're restarting the game, we're naming a new companion. Now, this is going to get a little bit complicated, so I'll do my best to explain this. When starting a game of Magic the Gathering, there's a whole step and process that we're supposed to go through. And for one of those steps, we're allowed to name a single companion we own from outside the game as long as it meets the deck building criteria. We do this even before we show our commanders. And even though in Commander we're not allowed to bring cards from outside the game into the current game, there's an exception for companions for us allowed to do that, as long as it follows these requirements here, which is it doesn't have the same name as a card in the starting deck, it doesn't have the same name as a card they own in the current game, and it doesn't violate any color identity rules. So the idea here is to somehow get infinite activations of Karn the Liberated, change the name of every companion that was brought into this game to something else. They use Psychic Paper, but honestly I think Mirrorweave is a lot easier way to do this. Now that every companion in the current game has a different name than the one that's currently sitting outside of the game, you can bring that one into the game. Then exile every single companion, including the one you just brought into the game, and then restart the game. Okay, now here's the important part. Whenever we're restarting a game, we go through the whole process of starting the game again. Part of the process of starting the game is naming a companion that meets the deck building requirements. Now, you might say that part of the deck building requirements is also following the singleton rule of Commander, which is true. But remember all those companions that we exiled from the previous game with Karn? Well, they're still sitting in exile, which means that they're not part of the starting deck, and we can name any new companion for this current deck. And basically, we repeat this entire process until we have more than 200 cards and we can win the game with Battle of Wits. But the burning question is, does this actually work? And the answer is, I'm not sure. The biggest area of contention here was that rule I showed you before about bringing cards into a game of Commander, where it says the card that you're trying to bring into the game can't share a name with the card that you currently own in the game. To me, the problem is the definition for a card is very ambiguous. The rules say that it means a magic card or an object represented by a magic card. That part is a little bit confusing. When that rule says name of a card, is this looking at the name of the actual physical magic card? Or is it looking at it as the object that is currently represented by the magic card? Personally, I think it's the latter, because if they wanted it to just be represented by the magic card, they could have just said just magic card. But the fact that they specified object represented by a magic card means that there's a difference between the two. Also, I made a video leaning towards that interpretation that uses a similar concept, so if that's not the case, then I'm wrong with that video. But also, it would just be great if we could finally have a way to play Battle of Wits in Commander.